Welcome to Fathers Unfiltered. This is our first podcast. We're hoping to tell the stories of single fathers going through separation myself. I've spoken to many fathers that have had pretty horrific stories, and I believe they're worth telling. The podcast isn't about bashing the mums, but it's about telling the stories of the fathers from start to finish, touching on the main beats of the relationship, and then moving on to the separation and how the relationship currently is with the children and the mother. The long term aim of the podcast is we'd like to set up a charity helping single fathers get low cost housing near their children. That is a long term aim, but it's something I believe in. So, yeah, if that's something that you believe in, then follow and share this with somebody who might find it of interest. So, moving on to yourself, our first guest. Do you want to give us your name, age, how many kids you got?
Yeah, so my name's Tony. 42. I've got two kids. Got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. Yeah, a 7-year-old little girl and a 4-year-old boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been separated from the kid's mum?
Well, we got separated December of 2022, like at the end, just a couple of days after Christmas.
Okay.
It was one of those where I came in to the room, came out of nowhere, where
Really?
she just said, "Yeah, I want to." Well, if I remember correctly, she said, I think you should move out, and I think we should co-parent the kids." So I was like, "Wow, that's a lot. It's only a couple of days after Christmas, and that's pretty rough." But leading up to that point, we were already having arguments. We hadn't been intimate for like half a year or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I'd already been talking to some of my mates about it,
Okay.
and one of them was like, "Listen, if it gets rough, you can always crash at my place." And so it's like I knew that I had a place to go, and I did, so like it was.
It was already in the air. You
Yeah,
were sort of aware of it. She was kind of aware of it, but nobody ever really spoke about it.
yeah, like I mean, we had I think maybe one conversation prior to that where I just asked her point blank. I was like, "Listen, I mean, should we be discussing co-parenting, because right now we're not communicating, we're not talking. It seems like we're always arguing." And at that point, she wasn't like
Yeah.
into it, but I was the one that was like, "Hey, listen, I mean, we should have a talk though, because if we're gonna work on this, let's work on this. But if not, like I want to know what's going on, because I feel like it's fair, for both of us if we do it like that, like
Yeah.
if we communicate beforehand." But yeah, it was December 2022. So it's been a little over a year now.
Yeah. That's how long were you together?
Um, we met in 2015.
Okay.
2015. So we were together for I guess about 7
Yeah,
years.
7 would have been about
About
7 years.
7 years. And so the other thing too is that I was the stay-at-home dad for the first 6 years
Oh
of
wow, okay.
yeah. So it's like um that I mean, like we're still technically married. We're still going through the whole process and everything, and
Right.
we haven't even touched divorce yet. We're just doing
Really?
child custody right now. Um, but we were together from 2015, and then I was the stay-at-home dad for the first 6 years, until my son turned 3, which is when I got a full-time job.
So how come? I mean, we'll touch on it a little bit more in a bit, but
Yeah.
how come you've not gone through the whole divorce avenue yet?
Oh no, like we're going
Oh,
towards
you're
it.
going for
Oh
okay.
yeah. We're definitely going towards that. But the thing is that she made it extra difficult, because like what had originally started as, "Hey, let's co-parent,
Yeah,
let's," and that was from that December till about March. That was the plan. Well, and at that time, I was living with a mate, and didn't have a car. Had to take public transport to come see the kids. It was about an hour and a half. And then also didn't have my own place, and I didn't want to bring them to his place because we thought it'd be confusing.
yeah,
Like this is daddy's new house, and it would just seem yeah, we just didn't want to confuse him. Is really like, at the end of the day, what we didn't want. So once I got my place, once I had my car, I got the car first, even though she didn't want me to. She wanted me to get a place first, and I was like,
Okay.
that doesn't make any sense because I don't know if this is permanent. I don't know if this is forever.
It's a difficult one when you've got to make choices financially. It's like a car does help, but a place, then they're both expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're both expenses that obviously I didn't have to think about while we were together because we shared a car. We obviously shared
Yeah.
our home and all that. But she had wanted me to get a place because she needed someone to watch the kids whenever she would leave to work, for a couple days at a time. Um, and I was like, look, you kind of can't have your cake and eat it too, like you want me to leave, but then you want me to kind of be there, and then leave again, so
Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird one. And then also if we do decide to mediate or get back together, we've got this lease now that we'd have to pay off. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. So I got the car first because I was like, look, if there's an emergency, if I got to get to the school, if I need to,
it allows you to get around a
it
little
just
bit more,
lets me get
especially when
around.
you've got to move
Yeah. And so,
2 kids.
yeah. And so then come like March time, she started making like all these like crazy allegations and everything. And then that's when it got really messy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. She started making like all these allegations and they've each been getting disproven, like people like, at the nurseries and all that are backing me up and all. And so it's like, because of that, that's why it's taken so long with just the kids.
I guess they have to disprove that before they can move on.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and it's just been a bit of a nightmare.
well, let's go right back to the start about 8 years ago.
Hmm.
How did you first meet?
We met at a pub.
Really?
I
Okay.
mean, we would call it a dive bar back
A dive bar.
a dive bar back in New York. Yeah, we met her in a dive bar. Um, I mean, so it was in Brooklyn, and even though Brooklyn is a big place and the neighborhood's a big place, you can tell when somebody is not from around there because you've just never seen them around, like just even walking around.
Oh,
and
right.
stuff
So
like
it's that
that.
sort of
So
small. You hear Brooklyn and then you think it's a.
yeah, oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's huge, but even in that setting, it's like there's little pockets of neighborhoods and stuff. So it's like if someone that's not from around there does come through, like you still notice. It's like I've never seen this person around here before, and it was one of those. Um, I think I'd gone outside the bar to smoke a cigarette, and that's when I first saw her, and it was just like instant attraction. I was like, oh wow, okay, like I've never seen you around here before.
Yeah.
And then started chatting her up and everything. And then we just became inseparable. It was just one of those where we were seeing each other every day. She was still living in England though. She was only in New York for like a holiday kind of a thing. So like for about 3 months.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then she would leave, come back to England for a little bit and then come right back to New York. That's what she was doing for a while. And so,
How was the relationship when she'd vanish after 3 months? I'm guessing.
I mean, she'd be gone for like a week or two.
Oh,
Like,
okay. So
yeah,
it's a week,
yeah, yeah.
3 months a week, and then.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Okay.
she didn't have like a full-time job or anything like that here. She was temping, while she was in the UK. But then she'd go to the States, and for about 3 months she would take like performance classes and stuff like that.
Okay.
She was a performer, and so then like it was working out all right. There were some red flags that were coming up like at the very beginning. That now when I look back, I'm like, oh right, okay,
Yeah.
I probably should have clocked that a bit better, and save myself like the hassle
You,
of
you always
everything.
notice them in hindsight.
Oh yeah. Like I absolutely love that the kids are the product of everything. Like I love my kids; they're awesome. However, like those little red flags,
Yeah.
if I clocked them back then, I mean, they wouldn't be here, but I also wouldn't have gone through what I've been going through for like the past couple of years. So you gotta like take the good, from the bad, I suppose.
You have to try not to think too hard into that.
Yeah. Like I mean, so one of them was I remember early on, maybe a couple of weeks in, we got into an argument about something ridiculous, like something that didn't really matter, and I don't because and I say that because I can't even remember what it was, but it was just something, like maybe um like forgetting to bring something home
Okay.
or getting somewhere like a couple minutes late, whatever. It was something. Anyway, we get to this argument, and my whole life, whenever I've gotten into an argument with somebody, uh, I've always, chosen to leave the space to go get some air because I've always thought that that was a better approach. Kind of taking a break. You got two boxers in a ring, even they take a minute between rounds to kind of,
I get you.
you know what I'm saying? Like go to their corners, think about it for a second, come back, and then, we're a little fresher. And so, I wanted to do that. And I was like, listen, I'm going to go for a walk. I need some air, and let's just cool off and then we'll talk in a bit. And she was like, if you walk out that door, we're over. We're done. I'm like, no, but I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret, or, have you say something you're going to regret, or just keep shouting at each other. I don't want to do that anymore. I'd rather, you know, get some air when we reconvene. And she said, she's like, listen, if you walk out, we're done, because I don't ever want to walk away from each other, angry. I want us to always be able to kind of, figure things out before moving on. And I'm like, and part of me understood that logic, but then in hindsight, I was like, okay, you were kind of keeping me like emotionally hostage. like you were not letting me go, and you were saying like, look, if you do this, then that's gonna happen. Instead of just being like, okay, look, you know what,
Giving
fine.
you ultimatums
And that was maybe 4 weeks in, something like that. Yeah.
So this is
This.
within the 3 month.
Yeah.
Everything's great block. You're getting ultimatums.
So I should have clocked that better back then. But then, I was like, well, I guess she kind of makes sense. I don't want to be angry about this. Let's try to figure this out. And it was a new concept to me because I'd never done it. I'd never done that before with somebody that I was arguing with. And so give it a go. But then, as the years progressed, it became a thing, like the ultimatum thing. She'd give ultimatums for other things.
Well, it worked the first time, I suppose.
It worked the first time. And so she just carried on doing it, throughout the marriage.
So you had the 3 month period, and then a week away, come back, and then I guess how long was it like that for?
So with us, everything happened very quickly.
Okay.
So she got pregnant probably like within the first like that first 3 month period.
Oh wow! So
Yeah, it happened fast.
that is really quick.
It happened very quick. Yeah, yeah, and then on top of that, like you've got the whole international aspect of it. It's like, oh, okay.
Had a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Just it was a lot, to have to deal with all in that era because like my life was, in New York, like that like my friends, my family.
Yeah.
I had a band at the time there as well that was doing pretty well. There were a lot of things that were going really, like just on the up and up for me. And then I remember we were talking on the phone and she started like just saying that she, like her like breasts were like tender and, she was getting like these kind of, changes in her body, but she didn't know, why. My sister like was also pregnant. So my nephew and my daughter are only 5 weeks apart. So like my sister was also pregnant around the same time or at the same time. And so my sister was telling me, yeah, like, when I first got pregnant, like she was describing the same symptoms that my partner was describing, but she didn't know that she was pregnant. And she telling me, I was like, oh no, she's.
Oh right, so that was.
Yeah, she's definitely pregnant. I was like,
That's how it came out.
Yeah, because she's like, yeah, I've just been like, I've got like this little like a little bloated. And it just won't go down. I'm like, I'm like, by any chance, are you tender? And it's her spot. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
So what was this, around week 8 or
Something like that, I mean, and I was like, oh wow, because I mean, this had never happened with anyone that I've ever been with.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, and then and then we, she took the test and everything, came back, positive, and then she told me, she's like, I'm gonna keep the baby. I was like, okay.
What were your thoughts at first? Like,
I mean, I was scared, definitely scared. I did tell her, I was like, listen, whatever you choose to do, like whatever you want to do, I'll support. And,
Yeah.
And then she said, like, well, I want to keep the baby. And she said, if you want to be a part of that, like you can be, but you don't have to be if you don't want to be.
she gave you a choice.
She gave me a choice, yeah, and I had a chat with a couple of friends, like got very different perspectives, opinions. Some people were like, forget you ever knew her, just like, walk the other way.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm like, that's horrible. And
Is she a child?
exactly, and so, um, with my own father, like I had issues with him growing up. Like him and I barely speak at all. It's getting a little better now, but I mean, I went well over a decade not talking to him at one point, and so, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, like I knew that I wanted to be a dad at some point, and um, I didn't know that this was going to be the way that it was going to go down, but it was, and so I was like, you know what, like yeah, like I can't sleep, like I won't be able to sleep well at night knowing that there's a child out there that is mine, that like doesn't know who her real dad is. I'm like, there's no way, I can't do that. And at the time, like, obviously I was already in love, with my partner. So I was like, okay, you know what? Like
This could work.
this could work. Well, well, we're going to try to make this work, and do the best that we can. I will say it was the best decision that,
Yeah.
that I could have made, because again, like my daughter's awesome. Like she's an awesome kid.
I think for the sake of the kids, it's always good to say it's the best decision.
No. It is. Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
there's that too. No, but I mean, it is the reality of it.
Yeah.
Like when people are faced with that decision, it's like, yeah, like, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? Like all those thoughts are going through your head. I just knew that I wanted to be a dad, from a long time ago, and because my dad didn't do a great job with us, I was like, I'm going to do the best job that I can with mine, and not, do the things that he did, and just be there, like really be there for them. And so then when she was born, yeah, like I flew over from New York, and the idea was to get a 6-month holiday visa, and they checked my bank accounts and everything. They're like, "There's no way that you can survive here for 6 whole months. Like, are you planning on working here?" I was like, "No, no." And I didn't want to tell them right, like straight out, that it's because my kid was about to be born, and because I was, in my head, I was thinking it's kind of none of your business, but
Yeah.
they put me in the room with the fake, fourth wall, like, don't walk out of this room or the alarm will set off. We need to check credentials and blah 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 blah, and they had to call her up, and she's like, "I'm heavily pregnant. Like, you need to let him in because I'm gonna have this baby any day now." And so they gave me the 6-month visa, but like, I just stayed at home. I stayed at home with the baby. Couldn't drive, obviously, like,
Yeah.
didn't have a license or anything like that at the time. Didn't have a well, she had the car, but I was just with the baby, like all day. And because she started going to work pretty soon after giving birth, like I was doing the night feeds and everything, and it was just me and my daughter.
Okay. Just to, I guess, bring it back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
In the run up from your ex finding out she's pregnant, what was that like for you? Did anything at all change?
In the run up to finding out?
Well, I mean, from finding out to the point of when your first child was born, personally, nothing changed for me.
Real, yeah. Like, I mean, nothing changed for me until I held her. That's when things changed, because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't know. And then it was like the moment that I held her, that was when I was like, I know what I got to do.
Yeah.
It's like I had this moment. I was like, okay, I got it. Like, it's you, like you're everything now. So I'm just going to focus on making sure that you're okay.
So with your relationship with your ex, once your child was here, did it change at any point, or was it the same, or did it improved, or
it improved? It did improve.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. So things were very different when it was the three of us. She was a lot more involved. I mean, she'd go to work and stuff, and I was with the baby all day. But then when we would sing her lullabies and things like that, she would sing with me. Or if we were giving her a bath, if it was an evening bath, then she'd get in there, because she wanted to spend time with the baby. So and then we got I guess closer as a couple, but we were also not doing anything that couples do, like it was like that was the gig, was just being a family, but we weren't, going out on dates, we weren't going out on walks, we weren't really spending any kind of like alone time together. At the time we were
You
like
mean
living.
aside from with the child?
Exactly, yeah,
You
yeah,
run into that bit of an issue once you have kids. You
yeah,
effectively stop dating your partner
yeah.
unless you've got a lot of family, which your side.
Well, so like my entire family is like over there, but I mean her parents are here, So at the time we were actually living with her mom,
Okay.
and so that also didn't like really help things, because I mean it didn't, because she was an extra pair of hands to help out, but at the same time like that private,
Privacy.
yeah, it wasn't really a thing, So, um, but we were kind of focused on, okay, let's be a family, let's make this work, because again we also didn't know each other for very long, but also um, throughout the pregnancy. Like at one point, she was here in England and I was still in New York. I mean, she was here for about 3 months. Like the last trimester, she was here. If I remember correctly, she had come back, I think, during the second trimester, and she was with us over in New York, and then she came here for the third. And so there was about 3 months where I didn't see her. But it was just, everyday phone calls,
Yeah.
her showing me how big the belly was and all that. And so we were bonding and getting close, and there was like a golden era where things were really good. And it was during the pregnancy, and then for the next couple of years afterward. Um, I really fell into the groove of just being the stay-at-home parent. And me even like saying just as the stay-at-home parent is, it's wrong, because
It's a big job.
it's a big job. I mean, I was exhausted, like shattered by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether it was just walking her all over town, because again, no car, it was like rain, shine, like we were just always out. Um, as she got older, I was taking her to all her clubs, like her swimming clubs and her little, gymnastics clubs. She did this, it's like tumbling,
Yeah, I
class,
know what
and
you mean. Yeah.
yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a job, and it's, I feel that a lot of people just kind of like, oh, I mean, anybody can do that. It's like, I mean,
It is really hard. I've had periods where you have the kids full time in the past, um, and it's yeah.
it can be maddening sometimes,
I
because
don't know how some mums do it. It's
yeah, well, and that's the thing, is our situation. It was like a full, like it's like gender reversal. Not your traditional, um, uh, you know, nuclear family. Dad goes off to the factory and mom's making pies at home. It wasn't like that at all. It was like I was the one cooking all the meals. I was the one, washing up and doing the laundry, and taking care of the kids and stuff. And she was the one that was off at work.
so you've got it where you've got your first child,
Yeah.
and you've been together for probably a year or so. Had anything significant changed at that point? Did you get your own place? Because now you're still living with
Yeah.
her
So
parents.
so what had happened was we had to then go to the States to get my visa sorted so I can actually live in the
Okay.
UK. So
I believe
um,
that's not cheap.
no, 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 no,
It's
and it didn't go through the first time either.
okay.
So that was just money just burned. And it's because we did it on our own. So, anybody listening, if ever you're going through that process, get a solicitor. It's so much easier. I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today about that, how they tried to do it themselves the first time, and then it got denied. But then when they got the solicitor, then they actually got it through. But had to go through all that. When it didn't come through, she had to come back here to start her full time, and I was, in the States with our daughter, um, and that was stressful, but we still, kind of
Yeah.
managed to keep it together. And then as far as like things like degrading, there were things that she did that my family pointed out, you
Oh
know.
right. So people.
Yeah, that I wasn't seeing, because like I'm just focused on raising my daughter. I'm focused on trying to be a family. I'm focused on all these things. But it was just like very disrespectful things that she would do.
What like?
Oh man, like So she, what like one of the ones that was not great. I mean, she just like passed gas like in my face, like and like
Oh wow.
have a laugh about it. Yeah,
That's
yeah, like stuff like that. I was like, that's not funny and not cool. Like I don't do that to you, or yeah, she would try to like do things to kind of like is it like emasculate? Yeah, like to like emasculate me and
I couldn't imagine ever doing that.
exactly.
Or if I did do it, you'd get who would accept that?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and she did this the first time she did it in front of my mom when we were still in like stateside, and my mom like called her out on it, and she's like, "What? Like I'm just joking around." And it's like that's not cool, and especially and doing it in front of like somebody's mom too. So my mom already was like, "Yeah, I don't know, if this is a great idea." And I was like, "Well,
Well,
like I don't know what to do." But there are other examples too that
yeah.
are just even just I mean the word that we would use is grimy in New York, but there were just things that she would do. I was like, there's no need for that, um, and um, and then also just like she would expect me to just kind of like pick up after her. So she would come into like the living room and say like eat like an entire thing of ice cream, like a Ben and Jerry's, and then just leave the tub there, like not even up, just on its side with a spoon, kind of like just dripping out. And I'm like, Ben's right over there, and she just didn't care. She just expected me to pick this up for her
Doing the
and
little things.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like no, like like that's not cool. Um, so those things were already happening, but I just wasn't making a big deal out of it because I was just well, this is just who she is. I was trying to like accept her for who she was, and my family was like, like that's just not cool. I would never do that to somebody, and the fact
Yeah.
that she's doing this to you and you're the father of her kids, like there's a level of disrespect and like disconnect that's not there that should be there if you guys are going to try to make this work.
So did you eventually get your own place?
Yeah, yeah. So we got our place. We had a flat.
Okay.
And then and while we were in the flat, we were actually looking for a house. So we were house shopping and everything.
What year was this roughly?
This would have been like 2018, I think.
Okay.
About 2018, yeah.
So your
Yeah,
child's about 2.
yeah, she was about 2 years old. So when we got like when we reunited in the UK finally, like all of us, visa was sorted and all that. We were at her mom's for a bit, and then we got a flat, for like a half-year lease or something while we were looking for a house. And then we found the house eventually. If I remember correctly, we had to actually extend that lease because one of the houses that we really liked fell through. So then eventually we found this great spot not far from her mom's place. So it was like easy to go to grandma's and for grandma to come over. So it was really nice, um, and it was just cool to finally have our own place. Our daughter's got her own room.
Yeah, you felt
and
like you could relax a little bit and
yeah,
things are starting to be.
start to actually make a home. Something that was also like another red flag though was she never wanted to hang up any pictures on the walls. Like I wanted to, I mean, right now in this room, like you've got to decorate it like it feels like a home.
Yeah,
Just because you got pictures of your
my
boys.
ex did a lot of these, but I've moved on.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did put a lot of these together.
Yeah, like but it's what makes it feel like a home, and so I wanted to start doing that. But I think at that point she was thinking that house was going to eventually be kind of like a house that we'll rent out and we'll find something else for us,
Yeah.
but that house will be something that we can kind of use to make money or something. And I was like, okay, that's fine, but that's not gonna be for a while. We can always plaster holes and
Yeah.
just fix it right back up. But for the entire duration that we were together, we didn't have
Just
that.
no pictures.
There was like, I mean, I had to make a big stink out of it, but there were two pictures on the second floor um, of our daughter,
Okay.
but that was it. Aside from that, the walls were completely bare, and so it never had that homey feeling.
Did a parent's house have many pictures? Or
Yeah, that's the thing is that both of her parents, their homes feel like homes. Like you go in and
Yeah, it's not a show home. It's very
yeah,
personal.
exactly. Yeah, they're little mementos, little knickknacks, and things hanging here and there. She just kept it all bare, and I was always kind of be like, hey, like it'd be nice if we made it a bit more.
Yeah,
But again, there was, I think, that bit of like a, maybe there was like a disconnect, or maybe she didn't want to connect, or she didn't want to fully, you know.
only she would know.
Yeah, yeah, she got her down.
So how long was it from the point of getting your own place to then having a second child? Was it about another?
So our daughter would have been 3 when he came along. Well,
Your eldest, you said it was
yeah,
7?
yeah. So he came along in 2019. And so but we spoke about it. We decided, okay, this is like we're both on the same page about this, because we were.
What were you actually trying, or was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So what had happened was, we had this conversation about having a second, and my stance was, well, we're not going to be around forever. She doesn't have a whole lot of family here. She's just got your parents and like an auntie who lives hundreds of miles away. Um, it'd be cool if she had a sibling, because at least she's got more family,
Yeah.
somebody that can be with her when we're not here. And she's got plenty of family in New York, cousins and all that. But so we talked about it. We both agreed on it. And then 9 months later, I mean, it like happened pretty quick. Like she got pregnant pretty quickly. But 9 months later, our son came along. Now, that's kind of when things started to really change.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that she might have had like postpartum or something like that after him, but she never spoke to anybody about it. I mean, she slowly started to stop, engaging,
Oh, right. Okay.
with like bedtime stuff, and like the singing of lullabies, or giving baths and things like that. Um, and that was kind of like when things started to kind of shift, and it was just getting a bit more volatile. Never like we never had like a physical type of argument or anything like that, but it was just like the putting me down kind of a thing. And but that's kind of when it all started, was not long after that.
Second.
Yeah.
Was the first pregnancy any different to the second pregnancy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because the second pregnancy was a lot more. It was a lot smoother. You know, like we were both in the same country for
Yeah.
starters.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So there was that. There was also just not always like moving around. We had the house. So there was already this like foundation that was set up, and so that made it, I think, a lot easier. And plus, going through the first one, you learn a lot about
Yeah.
just life in general, right? But also just what to do in certain situations. You're not lost the way you are, I think, with the first one. The first one, you're just trying to figure out what to do.
You are very much blind
Yeah,
going into the whole.
and people can give you advice and be like, yeah, this is what you want to do. In
Irrelevant.
one ear, out the other. Yeah, like none of it sticks, and you're just just constantly figuring it out. But then,
Yeah.
with the second, it's just a whole lot easier, and even taking care of him too. I mean, he was a really happy baby, like
That's good.
like really happy. Um, just and I knew what to do. I mean, he was a boy, so there were a couple little differences, like changing nappies or whatever. I learned real quick to keep certain things covered so I didn't get sprayed. Sprayed.
I never had that.
Oh no!
I've got 2 boys. I've never had
Once it happened once. I was like, nope. Like, we're gonna not let that happen. But like those little differences, right?
Yeah.
But it was easier. I mean, for me, like I thought it was a lot easier. But then like that was like when I noticed there was a shift in mood, on her end, and it just progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse.
So where you saying I guess it got worse, was this over like an extended 2-year period you
Yeah.
mentioned?
Yeah. And up until that point too, like I said before, we weren't doing the couple stuff, you know.
You've not been doing it the whole.
the whole time. No date nights. No, like, oh, it's the last Friday of the month. That's mommy and
Yeah.
daddy night where we get to go and, have a drink or go to the cinema or something. None of that, So it was, just me with the kids. I don't think I wasn't driving yet either. When our son was born, so I don't think I was driving yet. Which meant that I was still, walking everywhere around town and everything. And so like I was busy,
Yes.
with the kids. She was busy with work, right? But then at the end of the day, we'd have, I'd cook dinner and then we'd eat. And then I'd go to put the kids to bed. And at first, yeah, she would get involved, but then little by little, it was just kind of not. And I was like, oh,
So you're just running through your routine
yeah.
day by day.
And she would work, and then right after work, the other thing too is also she was working at the time. She was working from home, so it's not like she was even driving off, to an office or anything like that. She was down the hallway. She was right there. I mean,
Okay.
where we are right now. If this was, the kid's bedroom, right? Like she'd be right down the hallway on the computer just working, and then when she was done, she would walk into our room and get in bed and just like watch a show or something like that on her phone while I was, watching the kids up or, like getting them ready for bed or whatever it was. Um, this was on evenings when, well, it would be after dinner, so it'd be like an after dinner thing. That's when she
Yeah.
would go upstairs and just kind of shut down, and I would just carry on.
Just
you know?
stop being a mum for a bit.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like it's fine, I get it, like you were working all day. I mean, I was working all day too, basically, I've been busy running all over town. Um, but it started to turn into this thing where,
You noticed it where
yeah,
it's slightly disconnected.
yeah, and then even when like family would come to visit, like for lunchtime, this is when my son was still like little, still in a high chair and all, and I'd be feeding him his lunch, and I'm having a sandwich, and I'd ask her beforehand if she was going to eat with us, and she would say, "No, I'm just going to go to my mom's and have lunch over there." I'm like, "Well, why don't you have lunch with us? We're here." Like,
Yeah.
because like her mom lived not too far; she could walk over to her mom's, um, and that's what she would do. She would, and I was like, "Well, like it'd be nicer if you were here with us." And like I'd have family visiting, and they were noticing it too. They're like, "Why is she going to her mom's?" I don't know. Like I think it'd be nice if she stayed here, and had lunch with us. And I mean, she'd do it sometimes, but then it's like the fact that she would want to leave and just be like, no, like I just need to be away from everyone for a bit. I was like, okay, but then later on tonight, you're also not gonna spend much time with them either,
Yeah.
And so, and it was just progressively, getting worse and worse. The other thing too was that uh, with her mom, like I would joke around that like I had two wives, because it's like her mom was kind of like a housewife sometimes. She would come and just like help out with everything,
Yeah.
um and I was always like super grateful for it. But also whenever we'd go to her place, my ex partner would just like shut off, and then like go for a nap and then just leave.
Let the mum sort of
Yeah, like
take
her,
over.
like her mom and me like just carry on.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, can you come down so we can kind of all do this together, because you haven't seen him all day or you haven't seen him all week or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
it's not the sort of, I guess, behavior you'd expect.
it's
But
it's not what you would expect from somebody who well, from your partner. It's something that you would want. Like the things that I was expecting of her are, I think, the things that anybody who is in a relationship with children would expect from their, significant other. Um, just because, just out of love,
Yeah.
like, hey, like, do you love us? Do you want to hang out with us? There were moments where she, it's like almost like she'd remember that she had awesome kids, and then she'd be all over them, you know? And then there were times where she would just kind of forget, and she would just kind of be doing her own thing. But it's like, because they were my full time, I never had a chance to forget. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, no, like they're my thing. Yeah.
So when you've had your second child, was there any significant changes between then and the point of separation when that occurred?
Yeah. We weren't being intimate. Like that was starting to become a thing of the
Yeah,
past. Yeah. And the last 6 months before we split, we just were not at all.
just not connected.
Just yeah, I mean, um, I'd get in bed and she'd be facing the other way, watching something on her phone. Like watching Netflix, like headphones on or
Yeah,
whatever. Um, Sometimes without, and I'm trying to sleep and she's just got it, I'm like, I'm trying to sleep and you're watching, this show. It's just driving me. But yeah, we just, it was just a steady, decline. There were things that I tried to do. Like I tried to take her out a couple of times, tried planning things out and she wasn't having any of it.
really. So
Yeah.
even when you attempted,
Yeah. There was,
did you end up going or?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. There was this one time, um, I'd called her mom and I was like, listen, I want to take her out and can you watch the kids? And it's on this day from this time. I need you. Like I had the whole thing planned out. I wanted it to be a surprise. I think it was her birthday. It would have been her birthday, and she wasn't having any of it. This was the same year that our son was born, and so she felt that she still had baby weight on or didn't look her best or something like that. And I was like, I'm like,
Yeah, who cares?
who cares? Like, it's just you and me going out. Like,
You're going out with your partner.
yeah, like, who cares what anybody thinks? If you want to go on sweats,
Yeah.
wear sweats. We'll go somewhere where sweats are totally appropriate. Well, I'll change it around. But I just want to go out, and have an evening with you and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. I
And-
wonder if that's like a self-confidence thing or
Well,
I
probably.
or if it's an excuse. But
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I started picking up on insecurities, things like that, And I mean, everybody's got them. Everybody's got something that they're insecure about. Um, but hers were affecting our relationship to the point where we couldn't go out, like we couldn't have a night out and just kind of enjoy each other's company. It's like, okay, at that point maybe something needs to happen. Maybe a therapist needs to be brought in or something like that. Someone who knows what they're talking about,
Yeah.
because there's only so much that I could do.
We need to either save it or something else.
Yeah. And so after that, I was like, okay, so no surprises or anything like that. And then the last anniversary that we spent together, this would have been a couple of months before the actual, like, I want you to move out, I want to co-parent thing. I took her out to like I took her out for a curry,
Yeah.
at our favorite spot, and took her to this dance performance over by the Keys. And during dinner, she just looks so disinterested. When you're on a bad date and the other person's like literally in front of you doing this, like they're on their phone and they're checking.
I get you. Yeah.
And so she's doing that, and I'm thinking, like, can we talk? Can
Just
we?
totally checked out.
Yeah, just off. We get in the car, and we're driving to the theater. She falls asleep in the car, so she's sleeping now in the car, and I'm just driving her to this thing. And then we get to the car park, and she's all like, "Are you upset at me?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, yeah, I actually am." She's like, "Why?" I'm like, "You've barely spoken a word to me all night, and you're falling asleep in the car." And she's like, "Well, you know that curry makes me sleepy." I'm like, no, like,
Never
no.
heard that one before.
Yeah. She's like, well, because like I was full and this. I'm like, no, it's something else at this point, and I did have a sneaky suspicion that she might have been seeing somebody else, just because of certain things that she did leading up to the split.
Yeah.
So for years we had the same phone passcode, right? And I've never been like a jealous partner. I'm very much of the mind where it's like, okay, if you decide to do that,
Yeah.
if and when I find out, then we're just done, and that's that. You messed up. I'm I don't want to be with you, and that'll be that. I'm not gonna fight to be with you, if you don't want to be with me, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so, throughout, our relationship, I was always like trying to get her out, like go hang out with your friends, go, like just totally not that guy. And so we had the same passcodes for years because it was just easy with the kids. If her phone was there and my son's like, hey, like, can I watch Disney or YouTube? Whatever. Yeah, boop, 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 boop. There you go. And she had my passcode, so it was fine. And then one day she gets back from going out with my daughter. They were at one of her classes, and she says something about how, because our daughter had memorized her passcode, that she blurted it out in class, and so therefore she decided to change it. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, like, at all. Like, what are you talking about right now?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I just decided to change it because, and I was like, okay, well, what's the new passcode? Well, I don't want to give it to you. I'm like, wait, what? Why? I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, just because I just want to have like some of like, my own things, and, just have her own space or whatever, I guess. I'm like, we're married. We're not like, just going out or anything like that. We've been together for years now. What's the big deal? I don't understand. I don't get it. And then she changed her computer password as well. And up until that point, she had not been taking care of herself either. Like she was like, I thought she was depressed. Like she wasn't just maintaining herself.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she was, and I was like, I don't know. And so I started noticing those things because it's happened to me before.
Yes.
And there are signs, and then I did bring it up to her via text message, I think it was, and she wrote back because she was on a business trip, right? And she wrote something back like, this isn't the time to discuss that. Instead of just saying no, instead of just saying no, like no, absolutely not, like I would never. It's like, no, this isn't the time to discuss that. What? What are you talking about right now? And so there was that as well, so on top of everything that was going on, like this is why when she broke the news to me, I wasn't angry.
Mm.
I wasn't shocked. I was disappointed because, okay, this is the way we're going to go now, but there were things that had happened, like signs, red flags, whatever you want to call them, that were just pointing towards something else happening.
It kind of just confirmed something that you've known for probably a year and a half, 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah. And I was just like, okay.
I mean, there is a couple of things there. I mean, changing the passcodes is a big one.
Changing the passcode is a big one. I mean, I didn't change my passcode until after we were done, but that's
Yeah.
just because I was like, I don't ever want to use this passcode again. Like I feel like this passcode is now like cursed. So I was like, I'm gonna get rid of it. And I changed it to something else. But it was the same. Like they were both the same for years, and then to all of a sudden start changing things just because, and then giving a weird, reason for it. I was like,
I noticed something similar.
yeah.
Yeah. So then, the breakup, I guess she came out the blue. Had anything changed that day, or was it a pretty much normal day? And then all of a sudden,
No, so that day, I had gone to a mate's house to go pick up my guitar, which he was holding on to. And so I drove out to his place, which was like a good 25-minute drive away. And I mean, since coming to England, I mean, when I got here, the first thing you asked me was, "Do you want a brew?"
yeah,
That is just common
it's pretty,
UK
it's pretty standard.
culture. Yeah, it's like standard. It's almost like part of the greeting. It's part of the hello. Hey, how you doing? You want a brew? That's just the way it is over here. So when I got to his place, that's what he asked, and so I was like, yeah, I can use a brew, and so came in, had some tea, had a conversation. I was there for about an hour, and then I left. And then when I got back, she was fuming. She's like, you were gone for a whole hour, hour and a half, or whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, I went to go pick up my guitar, and he wanted me to stick around for a brew. I said, yeah. And she's like, yeah, but I was here with the kids. I'm like, yeah, you can be here with the kids for that long. It's not, like, you'll be fine. Like, and so she was fuming, and so then I think her sister was in town, and
Okay.
her sister came by to pick her up so they can go, you know,
Do
go for a
whatever.
drive or whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, okay, So then she left, and I was sat in the living room, and she got back, and then it was shortly after that she told me, she's like, yeah, like I want to co-parent. I think you should move out. And so I think that she was probably fuming that day for whatever reason, and then uh, possibly her sister might have been like, you know what, you should just blah blah blah, and she's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna, and then it turned
Yeah.
into that, But aside from that, like the day was fine, everything was okay. For the most part, I mean, like again, communication between us had pretty much broken down. We weren't like really talking to each other, but at least we weren't arguing, we weren't fighting or anything like that day. Um, but that was like the thing, The only thing that I can remember from that day was going to my mates, getting my guitar, and her just flipping out because
It'd
I
been,
took too long.
yeah, 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
was it, I I guess, amicable at the start? Or,
yeah, kinda. I mean, we were both like stressed out by it, but I'd remind her. I was like, listen, this is what you want. Like you want to do this. You came to me and said like, hey, I want to co-parent. I want you to move out. I didn't tell you to move out. And then the other thing too was like she wanted me to stay until a certain date, but it was because we were staying at her mom's while the house was getting done up, and so she was all like, "You can stay until that day." I'm like, "What? The day that we all go back to the house, but I don't? Like I can't come back to the house? Like no." And I also knew that she was going to be going on one of her work trips, so it's like, okay, what you really want is you want someone to be here
to look after the
to
kids?
look after the kids while you go off. I'm like, okay, no, like, and I told her I was like, I'm not a piece of patio furniture. You just bring out when it's sunny, and you put away whenever you don't need it. That can't be the way it works. If we're gonna do this, eventually, like we have to do this like half and half, like 50-50 kind of a thing. But it can't be just, I'm your ringer. I'm like that.
Yeah, come get the kids. I
Yeah,
need to do this. I
yeah.
need help. And
It's like no, like that's not the way it's gonna work. I mean, can't you call your mom or your dad? And well, like I can't. Like, well, you're gonna start having to do that, like because if I'm living somewhere and I've got my own schedule, work schedule, if I meet somebody else or whatever the case might be, I can't just drop everything just because you need me to run over because of something like going on. Unless it's like an absolute emergency, they're in the
yeah,
hospital. Yeah, I'm there. But if it's like, oh, I need you to watch the kids because I need to go to no, like when they're with me, I got to get a sitter when that happens. The same way that when they're with you, you're going to do that as well. Um, and so it was a lot of that though, like just kind of having those conversations, trying to figure it out. For the most part, we were trying to work together, but there was like a lot of snippiness in text messages, things that were being misread,
it's
stuff.
easy to be done. It really
Yeah,
can.
yeah, and then the other thing too was because I didn't have a vehicle at the time. This would have been like like from like well, late December till like mid February was when I didn't have a car. This would have been 2023, so like last year. Um, so in that time period, it was all public transport and all that. So it would take me about an hour and a half to get to them. And if via text message or phone call, if I said something that she didn't agree with, she would just be like, "Well, you know what? Instead of coming at 10 a.m., just come at 3 p.m. after they're done with their classes, and then you can see them from 3 to 7." I was like, "What? Like, no. Like, if I like I can be there by 10 a.m. Yeah, but and it'd be because she'd be upset about something that I said, or something I didn't agree with, or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And she started doing that, like cutting my time short. And I was like, "No, I'll be there at 10 a.m." She's like, "Well, we're not going to be there, so I'm just going to keep them with me." And again, in hindsight, I started thinking, okay, is she trying to set up an altercation? Is she trying to set up like some kind of like public dispute where people could then be like, "Oh yeah, like I've seen him, I've
Yeah.
seen him shouting at her or whatever it was." And I was like, "I'm not gonna do that. I'm never gonna do that. Like we've never had that kind of a relationship to begin with. We're not gonna start now,
No.
and I'm not gonna do that." So okay, I'd arrive at 3. you know, and see them till 7, and then take the hour and a half trip back to where I was staying. So she started doing stuff like that. Another thing she did was, you're gonna love this. So she,
One sec, let me get my brew.
yeah, yeah. So she rings me up one day and she tells me, right, so you can only call the kids on these days and at these times. And the days were something like the Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. was the only time I can call the kids.
7 a.m.
Yeah. I was like, why? She's like, well, because it's the only time that, they're completely free and have absolutely nothing to do. The rest of the time, obviously, they're at school or they're doing homework or they've got, their classes after school. It's the only time that you can call, so it's got to be 7 a.m. or nothing. I was like, okay, so you're telling me I can only talk to my kids on a Tuesday and a Thursday at 7 a.m. Am I hearing that right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't want to teach my kids ever to think that they can only call me during certain times of the day.
Yeah.
If they need me, if they got to talk to me, if they need advice, if they need whatever from me, they should be able to call me whenever. It could be 4 in the morning. My daughter has a nightmare or something, and she's like, Daddy, I had to talk to you. Yeah, let's talk. Like, what can I do? But what I don't want is for them to be like, oh, it's 7:30, I can't call them. And so she tried doing that. And I went along with it because it's like, okay, if this is the only time that she's picking up the phone, because I did try calling other times and she just wouldn't pick up the phone. And then on top of that, at like during the calls, she'd have things that were around as distractions for the kids. So the tablet would be on or the TV would be on, and it's like, kids, your dad's on the phone, but they're like watching, something on TV. So when you're dealing with a kid, you
Yeah.
know, they they might love you to bits, but if you've got like a Nintendo Switch on, or YouTube's going on, it's their favorite YouTube channel, it's hard for them to peel
My
away
son
from
does the
that.
same.
Yeah.
Once computer's on or YouTube,
They're gone,
they're zoned into it.
and then she'd be like, "Oh well, like they don't want to talk to you right now." I'm like, "Well, it's because you've got YouTube and TVs and switches on and stuff like that. You've got distractions around them. Whenever I'd have them call, for instance, my mom in New York or grandma or like their auntie, their cousins, everything else was off. Like
Yeah.
we're talking to them. That's what's happening right now, so that you guys can actually have a conversation. But she would try to set it up so that they would be distracted and wouldn't want to come to the phone. And then then eventually we had to start doing it around 7:30 because then the kids were just too groggy at 7 a.m. anyway, because 7 a.m. is when they're getting up.
Well, yeah, it is pretty early.
So it's like, oh, hey, dad, like what's going on? And they're not fully there. So then we decided 7:30 might be better. But then I was like, why are we even doing this? Like this is ridiculous. Like I don't want to feel like um I just don't want to. I don't think that this is the right way to go. But because she kind of held all the pieces at that point, as well as like the board itself, she was just able to make her rules. Like it was like, well, these are my rules, and this is the way that I'm doing it.
So your contact was pretty much all on her terms, and
Yeah.
a few hours phone calls when she allowed it.
And the other thing too was that because I was working from home at the time, and if like I get done, I think at 5:30 it was. So if I was to leave right after work to go see them on a weekday, I'd be getting there for their bedtime basically,
Yeah.
like because they would go to bed by 8 p.m. So essentially, I'd just be coming over for a bedtime, just put them to bed. Clearly not hanging out afterward, and then having to go back. So the only time I was able to see them was on the weekends. That's what made sense. And also during this time, this is when those train strikes were happening.
Oh yeah.
So this was like last February. So there was one particular day we met in Stockport. I had to take a cab from where I was staying. It cost me about 100 quid. On top of everything else, it was like 100 quid in a taxi. And she met us at the train station because that's where we had originally said we were going to meet. So I told the cabbie to take me there. She brought the kids. I was going to take them to the cinema. Cinema wasn't that far. I was kind of hoping that she would maybe give us a lift, because they've got little legs, and no, she bolted right
Gone.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's gone. And then I took the kids to the cinema. I took them bowling. Took them for ice cream, like to one of those like creams spots that have like these like giant sundaes. So they were having a great time. They didn't want to go at the end of it. And that's another thing too, is that throughout the whole process, the kids were always like, Dad, like, when can we come to yours?
Yeah.
My daughter would be like, Daddy, like, we want to come live with you. She'd say things like that to me. And I was like, if that's something that you really want, that's something that we can talk about eventually,
Mm.
but we're like a long way from that, plus like mommy's going to want to see you too. So, eventually what we're going to do is, like a half and half kind of thing, but Daddy needs to get a house first. I need to get, everything sorted and all.
How did you handle it going from full-time dad to
Oh, it was heartbreaking.
hardly there?
Heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I went from, like that was like my life, for 6 years. Like that was what I did every day. There were no breaks from it. I didn't take a holiday. She went on a couple holidays. She went skiing at one point and here with her sister, and went to the spa a couple of times. I was just like, just up in the morning till 8 p.m. And then of course like every now and then in the middle of the night kind of a thing. Oh, Daddy, wet the bed. All right, cool. Let me spritz this down. And just constantly, just nonstop. And so then the first thing that was really doing my head in was how quiet everything was. Like it's just so quiet, and
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like PTSD. I think it's like it's like a form of like PTSD in I was just thinking of like a soldier coming back from war. They're used to the gunshots and helicopters and planes and bombs and all this stuff, like all this noise happening, right?
Yeah.
And then when they come back and it's like they come back to like normal life or whatever it is, and it's just like dead quiet. They start to kind of get a bit unhinged, I suppose.
No,
Um,
I know that sort of feeling where for a good while coming into this place after it all being lots of kids, I used to hate coming here because I knew where everything was. Nobody had moved
yeah,
anything because it was only me.
yeah,
And it was like, I don't need to go in because I know where everything is.
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. Like I mean, I miss the messes.
Yeah.
Like I and the thing was that with my kids, like I would try not to shout because my parents would shout, so I would just keep reminding myself they're little, they're learning, they don't know how to do this yet, so let me just try to like get down to their level and you know show them how to do this, show them how to not make messes, show them how to tidy up. But the thing that really did me in at first was that silence was going to bed, and then also in the morning sleeping past what used to be my normal wake up,
Yeah.
because like we would get up around like 7 a.m. was when everyone started to get up, but the kids, like they're about 6:30, and oftentimes even though my alarm was going to go off at 7, it was more like 6:45. I'd have maybe my son right next to me, like just poking me,
Yeah.
like, hey. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, now, okay, cool, let's go. And then like get up, start making breakfast, start getting them ready and everything. And not having that was like a lot. Like it hurt a lot, and so um and then also I was staying in my friend's son's room because like he's got kids too, but they only come every other weekend. And so he was like, you could take his room, so I was like sleeping in this like little boy's room, like on a twin bed, surrounded by toys,
Yeah.
that weren't being played with. And it was tough. It was really, really tough. Like it got really dark, and also because I was working remotely, eh, like what I started doing was I would just roll out of bed, at like 5:02, and just sign on, kind of like fix this up a little bit and just go on. And when work was done, I would just roll right back into bed.
Really?
Yeah, like I was like heavily depressed, I just, and then when I'd see the kids, it's like I'd feel like I was alive again. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
right, and they would always, be super excited to see me. Got videos of like my son, saying like, please, can you take me to your friend's house? I'm like, I can't, but don't worry about it. Like, that's gonna get a place soon, and then we'll be all right. But yeah, it was really really tough, and I feel like a lot of dads out there, are going through the same thing, and it's unfortunate that the system, especially like the UK family system, it's definitely set up for the mom.
Mm.
It's looking out for their best interest, and there are a lot of dads out there who want to be dads. Like there are obviously fathers who don't, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh great, I got a free pass. I'm out of here, and I'll just pay some child support and that'll be that, or not. There are people that
Oh
do that as
yeah.
well. Um, but there are fathers who really want to be fathers, like they really want to be dads. And then you've got mothers who are maybe jealous of that, maybe spiteful, maybe because like my kids will run to me for everything because I was the one that was always there, like a like fall, on the knee kind of a thing. I'd pick them up and calm them down. She'd come over and try to do the same, and if I was already holding them, like they'd push her away. Like no, like I've got everything I need right now, kind of a thing. And I know that can't feel good also
Oh
for
no.
for
Yeah,
her.
that won't.
Like she's gonna feel upset by that. And so I would always try to find ways to kind of bring her in on things because I knew that she wasn't being included in most of things. So I was like, listen, like, hey, do you want to come help me with this? Do you want to come help me with that? When we're still together and all. Um, uh, but like it was tough, to just like not have him there because I knew that they were also probably wondering like, where's dad? Like, why isn't he home today? He's been gone for a couple of days now. Like, what's going on? Especially my son. And every time he'd see me, he'd be like, where have you been? Like, I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest thing. What was that silence? That
Has it got better in time?
yeah, it's gotten better. It's gotten better. I think so. Like going back to like the whole system, right? Um, the fact that she was able to make allegations against me without any kind of evidence, and then kind of put me through the whole thing. I mean, like cops showed up at my place. They brought me in for questioning and everything.
Well, when I guess going into that, when did that all kick off?
That all happened about 3 months after the separation. So up until that
Okay.
point, we were trying to co-parent. We were trying to do all that. She was doing you can only call in these times. You can only do. Um, so up until that point, we were trying to figure out how to make it work. And then all of a sudden, she started making these allegations that then like got like police involved and everything. But it's like things have been disproven now.
Were you already going through divorce at that point?
I haven't even gone through the divorce yet.
Okay.
Up until that point, it's just been child stuff. Like the divorce is probably not going to happen until like later this year. But like you know, when she did that though, she did it after the first weekend that the kids spent at my place. And so like what had happened was the kids, I had them on a Saturday, and I was taking them to like taking my daughter to her classes. At the time, my son didn't have any classes at the same time, so I'd take him to the park while she was doing her thing, and then afterwards, after she was done with her two classes, then we'd go get like a Mackey's, and then go home. But then that day, I had asked the kids if they wanted to stay at mine, and they're like, yeah, they were super excited because they've been wanting to stay over for the longest. My mom was visiting too, and before that, they'd only seen me on my birthday a couple weeks prior. So my mom had only seen them that day of my birthday, and then now it would be that weekend. And she traveled like over 3,000 miles to come to the UK to see not just me but her grandkids, right? So
Yeah.
and she wasn't getting to, and so I was like, "Do you guys want to stay?" So this was on a Saturday, and they were super excited about it. They're like, "Yeah, like we want to stay." And I kitted out their room like they had bunk beds, or I mean they still have bunk beds. Like, it's not like they're gone. They've got bunk beds at the house. They've got change clothing. I had gotten them like toys and stuff to play with. So it was like just slowly building it into second home. This will also be your home kind of a thing, and that's what I wanted. Um, and my ex partner wanted me to meet up with her also like in a neutral spot, you know, because she was trying to create this narrative that I was like some kind of a danger to like her and the kids, and I was like, it's never been a thing. Anyone who knows us, anyone who's been around us, will say that it's never been any kind of a thing. But she was trying to create that narrative, so I think later on in court, you know,
You do get
she can play that against me. And I was like,
there
no,
is a thing in the UK if there's, I believe it's domestic violence or going down that route, you can get free legal support.
that's the other thing too, is that I'm pretty sure that that's why.
So they'll cover the cost. That's the only way that, and it's expensive. If you go for the,
Oh,
full court route, it's like 10, 20,000.
yeah,
So, yeah, I've heard of dads mentioning that their exes have mentioned issues or created issues. Some have been suggested by the solicitors so that the fees would get paid for them.
and that's what I think happened. So that Saturday, right? I rang her up and I was like, listen, the kids want to stay here. I told them it's fine, and mind you, my place is a 5 minute drive away from theirs. Like we're in neighboring neighborhoods, right? And so she was like, no, you got to bring them to the neutral spot, you know, to the neutral location. I'm gonna be there at 5:30. I was like, the kids don't like going there. I don't like doing that because there's never been a reason, you know, for any of this. Um, so what's going to happen is they're going to stay at mine because they want to, and they're allowed to, you know, and there's nothing saying that they can't. You know, there's not a piece of paper or anything like that. And so then it was after, I think after I said that,
That's
that she decided to get
probably
herself,
a really big trigger.
yeah, that she decided to get a piece of paper because it's like up until that point, like we've been talking about, you know, co-parenting, about when I get a place, this is what we're going to be doing anyway. And so, and the kids were just there. So I was like, you know, they want this, they want to stay here. I don't see what the big deal is, you know? And I was like, there is not a piece of paper saying that they can't. So they're going to stay.
Yeah.
And so she decided to go to the neutral place anyway. And she's like, "You're not here." I'm like, "Yeah, we just had this conversation. The kids are really excited to sleep over." I was like, "Look, I'll bring them to the house tomorrow." She's like, "Well, I don't give you permission to come to the house." I'm like, "I'll be on the street. You can come to the car and collect the kids, and then that'll be that, you know." And so that's what. Do you have like a tissue or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay. Got this little scab or something that's just. Cheers. So so anyway, so then they spent that weekend with me, right? And my mom was in town too. So my mother, you know, enjoyed like spending time with her grandkids. Um, the next day, I did go by the house, like, you know, and was parked on the street. And I remember my son. He starts going, "Daddy, I really have to go for a wee." I'm like, "Well, your mom's gonna be here any minute. Like, can you hold it?" He's like, "No, Daddy, I really gotta go. I really gotta go now. I really gotta go now." I was like, "No, you really gotta hold it because she's gonna be here any minute." And he's like, "No, no, no, like, you know." And so he was like, "I'm gonna do it. You know, I've got to go." I was like, "All right, fine." So we drove back to mine, and so he got out the car and he goes, "Daddy, I lied," and he ran to the house. And my mom and I looked at each other and it was like, did he just lie to come back to your place? I was like, I think he did. Like, I 100% think he just lied
Wow.
just to come back here. And so then I let her know. I was like, hey, listen, I was there. And she's like, well, I was at the neutral spot. I was like, I told you I was going to come by the house. The kids don't like meeting up there. They're always asking me, like, why do we have to meet mommy here? And I never have like a proper answer because I don't know why we're meeting there either. You know, so it doesn't make any sense. And at this point, I think it's just because you're just trying to create some kind of narrative, and that's not cool. So I was like, we'll try this again tomorrow. I'll be by the house on the street. Just meet me there, and then, you know, fine. So now it was Monday. Monday, I took the kids to nursery and school. Picked them up afterwards. Took them to their after classes. So my daughter was going to like a language class, and my son, I took him to this park that we always go to whenever she's in her class. And so then when I did bring them, like she was waiting there with her mom, which I didn't understand why she was there, but she was. And then it was 2 days later that police were involved and everything, and I thought that it was because of that, like that she was trying to like say that, oh, he like took the kids or whatever, which I was like, I'm still a legal guardian, there's no kind of restraining order, there's none of that.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about doing this for months now. I've got all the messages saying like, yeah, let's co-parent, let's do this, and now you just don't like that you're not getting things your way. So I thought it was gonna be about that, but no, she decided to say a bunch of other things. I was like, what? And so like I went with them, and I was like, yeah, I want to get to the bottom of this as well, because we've never, not once, had any kind of issue, like anywhere near that. Never have the police showed up to like our place because of disputes or arguments, or like the neighbors calling like, oh, we just didn't have that kind of a family life. But her doing that gave her that piece of paper that said that I couldn't, have direct or indirect contact with her.
Is it non-molestation?
Something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And that in order to see the kids, it had to be through like a third party, you know. And then I actually had a mate of mine contact her, like, hey, listen, you can bring them to my place, and he can then pick them up. She never responded, So I was like, okay, I'm trying to set this third party so I can see my kids. I didn't see the kids from that day till September.
So how long is that? What?
March, April, May, June.
Oh,
July,
right. So it is
August.
about 6.
6 months. Didn't see them at all. Didn't hear from them. Like no phone calls, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing at all. Yeah. And so that was just because she got the cops involved because she made these allegations and stuff, right? And then a couple months after, right, like the police got back to me because she said that, oh, like there's evidence like on his phone of wrongdoing. And so like I gave my phone to the cops. I'm like, look, here are my passwords. You'll have access to everything. Go nuts. I'm like, I've never done anything wrong to her, like, and so then I found out about 2 weeks prior to when the official like end date was going to be, that they were like, yeah, like you're in the clear. Like she's talking a lot of nonsense. I was like, yeah, I told you that the day of, like we had that discussion. If I was a different kind of person, like if I was a hothead, I would have just gone over and be like, you see, like, like.
Yeah, that wouldn't help.
No. So I was like, I'm just going to wait until, the original date. And I did. And a couple days after that, she, I got a call from the court for like an emergency hearing because she thought that I was going to like abduct the kids and like leave to the States.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so then, I remember reading the email. I was just laughing. I was at work, and I was like, "Wow, okay, all right." And so, went through that hearing, and they were like, "Yeah, like she's not making a whole lot of sense here." I'm like, "I don't even have the passports. Like, I've got like I don't have them in my possession. Like that's not a thing. And I was like, I've got a job. I've got a place that I pay rent for. Close to the school, like I'm doing what I need to be doing in order to be with my kids. But it's like, I think that it's not just her, but like the solicitor also is like, oh, well, you know what? Like, what if we try this? What if we try that? And it's disgusting.
They're getting paid off it.
Yeah.
They don't care. And if
Yeah.
it's domestic violence, they class it as, the state pays it.
It's just
They
like the whole the whole process has been so aggressive. Like it's like I always thought that the justice system was meant to be a fair legal system, based on proof, based on actual like eyewitnesses, based on like actual like anything that's concrete.
Yeah.
But it like so far, and even the solicitor that I did have, I had a solicitor. He was like, well, just the courts usually favor like in the mom's well they go in the mom's favor. I was like, the fact that you're saying that is not cool, because that shouldn't be a thing,
Yep.
like it should be a bit more even. I think I would hope so.
Yeah.
But for you to tell me like, hey, listen, just this is probably not going to go your way. And it's like, okay, but why? You know, I've got letters from the schools, like I have letters from teachers and from nurseries and um, family, friends, people that I've known me for years now since I've been in the UK that have all vouched for me and be like, yeah, he was like the main parent. You know, he was the one that was always there with the kids. So why is he being stripped of them right now? And solicitor was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm just letting you know that it's. And I was like, well, that's not great. And then also, so then in September is when I started to, I was allowed to have a supervised visit, like 1 hour.
Supervised.
Yeah.
You have to pay for them, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
They're not cheap.
No, no, it was like 130 some odd pound a week on top of everything else, right? For 1 hour in like a supervised setting. And so the first time that I saw the kids after not seeing them for 6 months, my son, um, he just comes running like at me, just like almost like tackles me. Like my daughter was a bit more like awkward about it, like she didn't know quite what to do. And I think partly it's because she's older. She's probably been hearing things from, you know, mom or like grandma, or like, oh, you know, like just like probably bad mouthing dad.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't quite, you know, she didn't quite know what to do or like how to react. My son was just all over me, and he was just like, "Daddy, where have you been? This is what he said. He said, "Daddy, where have you been? You used to take us to all these fun places, and you haven't taken us anywhere in so long. Like where have you been?" And I'm just like hugging him, you know, like and also doing my best not to cry,
Yeah.
you know, because the thing was that I decided that if we're gonna do this hour, I don't want it to be a place of sadness for them, where it's like, oh, we're gonna go and cry with dad now for like next hour, you know, like that's not what I wanted. I wanted, you know, us to be able to kind of
Try and enjoy it, I guess.
just enjoy it as much as possible and just kind of create like a concentrated version of the way things used to be, you know. And so um, for that hour, what I would do is I'd like play with them for a bit, you know, and then I'd read to them, you know, like I'd sit them, I remember I sat down on this beanbag. I was like, "Do you guys want me to read your story?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And they both went to their spots that they always went to. Like my daughter always sits on my right knee, my son always on the left. And it was like, okay, like you guys haven't forgotten. That's good. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it was like in my head, my heart, like everything was breaking, you know, everything was just like falling apart. But I made sure to make those hours, you know, just like as about us as possible, you know. And then my daughter actually she asked about the lady in the room. She's like who's that lady? I'm like, oh, she's just hanging out with us, you know. She's just, yeah, but what is she writing? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. She's just, you know, she's just hanging out. And my daughter's very like very nosy. Like
Yeah.
like if she wants to find out something, she will try her best. So she was looking over her shoulder at some point. She's like, "Daddy, she's writing about us. Why is she writing?" And I was like, "She's just taking notes. That's all she's doing." And so we did about I don't know how many of those, like maybe like 6 of those sessions, right? And every single one of the reports were glowing, you know, just like, yeah, like he's clearly invested in his kids. The kids clearly love him. And I feel like those centers are usually set up for dads that have just not been there, you know, like who are just being
Yeah.
introduced to their kids for the first time or haven't seen them for years or whatever it is. And I understand the need for them. But I was thinking that's not us. Like we don't have that same situation. Our situation is very different, but the system just kind of lumped me in with that because that's just their process. And I'm like, well, the process shouldn't be the same for every single situation. Like you have to look a little bit more into it. It's like, wait, hold on. If he was indeed their, you know, stay-at-home parent for all those years, then it's going to be detrimental to them. And that's what the nurseries said as well. The nurseries were like, he was, you know, the main dad. Oh, sorry, the main dad, like the main parent. And stripping the kids of him is not going to be good for them, like developmentally, psychologically. It's not going to be good for them. Like it will be damaging if you do that to these kids. And this is coming from professional childcare workers, right? Who are not invested in this at all. They have nothing to gain.
Oh no, yeah.
You
One
know?
bad word and
Yeah,
means everything to you, but
yeah.
little to them.
And so they were saying that they were like, yeah, like, he's the main parent, you know, and was always very receptive whenever we gave him advice for things. The mom not so much, you know, like she was a bit more headstrong, like, no, I'm just gonna do things the way I'm gonna do them. And like the head worker at the school, like the owner, actually was, she always found that a bit kind of insulting, because like she works with kids all day, so she might know a thing or two about raising kids or the signs or whatever. So when she would give advice, like, it was always just met with a no. But I was always a lot more receptive. But like, you had all these people that were just like, yeah, like he was the main guy. So for you to do that is not going to be great.
How did you the 6 month period where you didn't see him? How did you manage to get through that? Was it just stick to your routine?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, so there were there were days when um there were days when I couldn't get out of work. Sorry, couldn't get out of bed to go to work, and I would have to call in. And I was like, look, I can't. Like, I'll work from home today. And my bosses knew what was going on.
Yeah,
Not in full detail. I mean, there's obviously things that
they're new enough.
but they knew enough. And there were like one of them had gone through the same thing. He spent like 24 grand in total in like legal fees and
It's
all
crazy
that.
money.
It's stupid. And I think the same thing happened where well, his ex partner was dragging her feet, and she was, getting free legal aid and all that stuff. Like, she didn't have to pay for anything, so she dragged it out for about 2 years. Thankfully, now he's fine. They're on like what's called a 2255 schedule. And he's actually the first one that put me onto that too. He was like, you should try that, because that's, it's a good way to like evenly split up the time, So, but there were days where I'd be at work and I would just be typing away or something, and then that feeling you get like when you're about to drop on a roller coaster in your
Yeah,
stomach. I'd get that and then just start tearing up, and I'd have to go to the bathroom, or get some air and just weep, just
yeah,
like weeping, behind the building. Um, or I'd go in my car, and just kind of do it there. Um, it was happening a lot more, when all the police business happened. Plus, my mom was in town too for that, so my mom had to, like, go through that with me as well. It was really heartbreaking, and really aggressive the way that it was all done, and I was just doing my best, but there were times where I would just be driving to work, and then just the tears would just come,
yeah,
and there was there was no um, mm, like, there were some triggers, I suppose, like if I was listening to like a song or something, but I hear a lyric, or like, because I'm a musician, I play music and all, and so I used to play a lot of music around the kids. So there's a lot of songs that they now love. There's like songs by Queen, and like what you call Blue Oyster Cult, like stuff like that. Like I was playing them like a lot of like oldies type stuff, right? And then I'll like listen to them, and then a memory comes, into my head of maybe like my son drumming on my drum pad, listening to the music and like kind of headbanging and stuff, and then just like, boop, that's it, that's enough, and then I'm just, or like certain movies,
yeah,
but it was dark, and it was lonely, because that's the other thing too, is that when you're a dad, most of your friends are probably dads also. The number of single friends that you had before becoming a dad, it just dwindles down to like not, right? So
yeah,
everyone's got something that they got to do. You can't just call up your mate and be like, hey, like, let's go for a beer. No, I've got the kids, like, I got to put them to bed. Or it like, if it's not kids, then there's a wife, there's like a long-term girlfriend. No one's really single, rarely, at least in my circle. And so there weren't really many people that I can call to just be like, hey, can we go out? In New York, I have a much bigger network. Like, my family's there. Obviously, like all my really close friends. Um, and that was eating at me too, because if I was in New York feeling the way I was feeling, I would just hop on the train and go to my mom's, and she'd make me dinner or something, and
yeah,
I'd get a hug, and just kind of like, look, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. Like, you're not alone.
I found it something similar. There was probably one person that I could speak to. Um, yeah,
It's tough.
it just goes really quiet.
It's tough, yeah, and so I would come home, I'd put like Netflix on or whatever, just like watch a show and fall asleep on the couch, you know, wake up in the middle of the night, go up to bed, wake up in the morning, do it all over again. What I am super super proud of is that I didn't start drinking because
Yeah,
I know a lot of dads will do that.
gets a lot of people.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna drink this bottle of Jameson and drown my sorrows. It's like, no, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do my best not to do that. And I'm not even like a big drinker anyway. Like it's not my thing. I'll have a pint or two. Like I do enjoy a really cold beer, but I mean, at the old house when we were all together, I think I had the same bottle of Maker's Mark for a couple of years because I'd have like a little nip every now and then, like, But I made sure to not go down that route because I was like, that's just not going to help me at all. It's just going to make it so much worse. And so I was proud of that, but I was just trying to bury my head in work, writing music and stuff. I mean, a lot of that's paying off now, the music stuff anyway.
Yeah,
But it's because I took the time to try to focus on the things that I could focus on and the things that I could have some kind of control over because everything else I couldn't, and it really wasn't until after October, like she managed to take the kids off me again. So like I haven't seen them since like, October. That I was like, you know what? There's not much I can do about it right now, So I could just be sad about it and beating myself up over it, or just accept it for what it is for now, and just know that this isn't forever. Like this is all very temporary.
so is that where it's at the moment?
At the moment, yeah, yeah. Like I'm thinking more about where I am right now. I'm trying to be as present as possible, but also thinking about the fact that it's all temporary. I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe years from now, her and I will be on speaking terms, and all that because we're gonna have to go to the same recitals and the same gymnastics competitions and all that stuff. Like it's gonna happen. She's going to have to interact with me if we're dropping the kids off or whatever, unless we decide to do something like where we'll like I'll drop them off at your mother's, and you can pick them up from there, and that could be the swap, house or something like that. But
Yeah, that's what I tend to pick up from mother-in-laws, and very rarely have to see the ex.
I mean, it'd be nice, if we can make that happen eventually. I mean, from the start, I've wanted to do the co-parenting thing because that's what we said we were going to set out to do. And I wasn't trying to be unfair with her. I mean, even when mates of mine were just like slagging her off, like I was like, don't do that. That's still mother to my kids.
Yeah,
Like I know you guys are trying to be helpful and thank you because it shows you care, but it doesn't really help anything. It doesn't help me.
it doesn't make you feel any.
It doesn't make me. Yeah, it doesn't make me feel any better whatsoever.
Doesn't fix anything.
No, no, and from the beginning, I've always tried being very very fair, but I have had people point out they're like she's not being fair about anything though, she's like legit saying things that aren't true. She's got a solicitor who's backing her up on this on these things. They are getting disproven, which is great, and which is eventually going to make her look not great for lying about a lot of things.
I think a lot of times once they get disproven, they almost get forgotten about. Like, disproven. Let's move on to the next thing,
Yeah.
as if it never happened.
Yeah, but it's like oh no,
no,
it totally happened.
Yeah, but that's you never hear. Okay, yeah, so you made these accusations. What should happen? Oh no. Let's just move on to the next thing, and it all just seems to go away.
I mean, I honestly think that if somebody's going to make those kinds of accusations and they're getting disproven, like they should get done in for something.
This should be a consequence.
There should be a consequence because it's like you're costing everybody time,
Yeah.
energy, money. Why? Because you're hoping that this will work. Like you're hoping that this is going to somehow go in your favor.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to some mates about it, they were like, yeah, she's just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks because she didn't really have anything. I mean, um, the best you could do was lie about things. But it's like everyone that knew us from neighbors on the street, that saw me every day with the kids, walking around with the kids, taking them to the park, doing like play dates, the play groups, the churches, the doctors. Like I was and still probably am like the proxy parent. So if anything was to go wrong or whatever, I was the first one to be contacted. The teachers, school admin, like they all knew dad. They all like if I call the school, like they talk to me like they've known me for
Yeah.
years because they have, um and never once has there ever been any kind of uh, observation made by anybody like where it's like, oh, that family's messed up or whatever.
Yeah.
It was always like the kids are always smiling, kids are always happy. They never really saw mom. Mom was always like working or off, doing whatever she was doing.
How do you
Um,
think the kids are coping with it all?
do you know what? Funny enough, so when I saw the kids at the center, right, they're always like super excited to see me. They also said some things that have stuck with me. The last time I saw my daughter, she asked me, she's like, "Daddy, like, how much longer do we have to do this?" I said, "Baby, it's just the process that we have to go through before you guys can start to see me, like half the time." And she's like, "Daddy, we should be living with you. I should be mommy that we're seeing here for an hour a week." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay." So she her saying that like I didn't have to put
Yeah.
anything in her. That was just her being honest, um and the kids were always just like super happy to see me, like almost like this nervous happiness, because they only knew that we had so much time. Um, and when they would walk them to the front or like the lobby area for her to pick them up, a couple times my son would run back because he didn't want to leave. A couple times like he was crying about it. Both kids were always saying that they missed me, that they loved me. Like when can we come to your house? When can we come to your house? Um, and then I noticed, so uh, her solicitor will send me pictures of the kids like weekly. Although during the holidays, I didn't get anything over Christmas, or like not until like the 4th or 5th of January did I get something. Like nothing over Christmas, no updates, no anything. But it's just the kids did this week, blah 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 blah. Just a very brief description of what they've done, and then a bunch of pictures of the kids. In every single one of the pictures, the kids look at like they have forced smiles,
Yeah.
like they're being forced, like someone's saying smile, because my son's always smiled with his teeth, like he's got like this great little smile, and my daughter not so much, but my daughter what she'll do is like she likes to photobomb, so it's really hard to get her to smile, but it's like when she does, it's gorgeous. Um, and in every single one of the pictures, it's very like pursed lips, like
Yeah.
you know and so I'm thinking, okay, they're hurting too. They're probably wondering what the hell, like what's going on. Um, and the thing is that the whole weaponization of the kids it's a brutal, manipulative, cruel thing to do to everybody. Not just to the dad, but also to the kids. Because they're being caught in something that could be dealt with so much easier,
Good.
like so much more civil. Like, hey, let's be adults about this. Let's have a meeting. Let's sit down. Let's talk about what we want to do with the kids. The divorce stuff, we can figure that out later. Like that will probably need, solicitors and all that stuff. But the kids should be pretty easy. You know, if we split them up like this, then this is just the easiest way to do it. I'm like walking distance from their school, and I did that on purpose. Like a friend of mine was a mediator. He was like, when you get a place, make sure you get it as close as you can to the school.
Yeah.
It's costing me a lot though. It's like it's a lot. But it's cool that it's right there. And so if things were split up evenly, yeah, I can walk him to school and then, you know, put him in after school, pick him up after that, you know, bring him back home, feed him dinner and everything. Um, we could do it, and that would be their new norm. But at least they get both parents, and at least, you know, they get used to it at an early age, as opposed to the way it's gone about. Like, I feel like maybe sometimes I feel that she may have taken the advice from the solicitor to make, you know, allegations, but didn't realize,
The implications.
yeah, you know, like how long it was going to make the whole process, that it was going to be damaging to the kids.
Oh yeah, it can add 12, 18 months onto it, and
Yeah.
costs which will be greatly bared on your side, even if it's disproven. I don't think she bears any.
No, I don't. And do you know what? I didn't find out about that until maybe a couple of months ago. You know,
Yeah.
that was a thing.
It's the only way now that the UK covers any sort of divorce cost, as if they class it as domestic violence, and yeah, other than that, they're not interested.
Yeah.
You cover your own cost.
Yeah, that's what nuts. I mean, I actually had to start a fundraiser to raise cash for my legal fees.
Yeah.
And I was able to cover the legal fees for that one hearing, but then after that, like, I need to
It's like 5,000 just to each session.
roughly, yeah, like but I managed to raise that up, you know, like from people that have known me for a long time, people that are like, yeah, like, this is ridiculous, like, you know, how can I help? And I'm like, you can put whatever you want in, you know, it's all good. And I had people donating anywhere from like 20 quid to a couple hundred quid,
Wow.
you know, just being like, no, like, we've known you for a long time, we've known the kids, you know. Some of them, there's some people from the States that I hadn't seen in years that donated the most.
Yeah.
I was like, that's amazing. You know, people from my mom's church also, like, they came through and they were like, yeah, it's not fair, you know, because you've always been like a really, really sound person. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not cool that you're going through this right now.
The costs are crazy. So now you've got your place near the school. You said it's been a few months since you last. Have you got anything? Is there
There-
like a court session planned?
Yeah, so there's another hearing coming up, because like a fact finding hearing or something like that.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah, but the thing is that they're just going over things that have already been put forth, um, and everything is so far looking like it's fine. You know, like it's in my favor, because for starters, you know, one of the things that she was accusing me of would require me to have the funds to be able to do, and I wasn't working for 6 years, like, not full time. Like, I work like a gig here and there, but it's like I never had the kind of money
Yeah.
to. But it's like, you know, like, one of the things was, she said that I had like a gambling, you know, problem. I'm like, you need money for that. Like, that's not a thing, but it is part of the list of things that, you know, if you accuse somebody of,
yeah.
you can then get the kids away from the parent. You know,
Because I think normally, if you're the main, I'm surprised it didn't go down the route where you end up keeping the kids full time to begin with. I think it was more you didn't have a place to go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, when you separated, as you was the main carer, it probably should have been the case of she should have left.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like look, if you want a co-parent, you want the single life, then you go get a flat,
and you carried on looking after, but then you'd have the spousal support, which, because you were the main parent not working, and then the divorce, you normally have it. I think there's a inequitable asset distribution, which wouldn't have been in a favor.
But the thing is that and I feel like it's been like this since the beginning, except for one judge. One of the judges actually saw right through, you know, the BS, and was like, "There's no reason why this guy shouldn't be allowed to see his kids." But I think that the system's very cookie cutter. You know, they will treat each, you know,
Yeah.
case the same. You know, if the dad's like a deadbeat, you know, like drug addict who smacks his wife around or whatever, they're gonna treat that case the same as mine. And I'm like, that's completely different. You know, there's no reason for me to have to go through this whole supervised thing. And I brought that up. I was like, I've never had it to be supervised to see my own kids. It's never been a thing. So why do I need to be supervised now? Oh, well, we need to make sure that, you know, I'm like, it's but like there's no evidence of any kind of any like and then they were like, well, Kafkas has suggested this and that. I'm like, yeah, but Kafkas is suggesting this based off of like allegations
Yeah.
with nothing behind it. I mean, I can accuse her of secretly plotting to assassinate. I don't know, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I could just say it. And then are they gonna then send in, agents and stuff on helicopters, like escort her out, like do a bunch
It
of
is
questions?
crazy how it
Like,
works.
I would hope that somebody would be like, well, do you have any evidence of this? No, I'm just deciding to say it, so so it's so. But it seems that that's the way it is,
Yeah.
if it's the mom saying it, and then Kafkas made their suggestion of like, oh, we think that it should be supervised. I'm like, based on what? Based on, okay, allegations with no proof. Fair enough. Um, and then when things were being disproven, I was like, can I see my kids now? They're like, well, we have to go by the original Kafkas letter. I'm like, well, who's in charge here? Who's like, I thought that the court system was above Kafkas, but clearly if Kafkas says something,
They'll listen to them and
yeah.
they'll report back.
And I'm like, that's ridiculous, because if the letter says one thing that's now like been proven wrong, then that letter should be like null and voided. It should be like, yeah, that's no longer a thing.
it seems like you have to. Oh, you need to go back to court to get it all just squashed.
Yeah.
And I think once I've seen it with cases where they go back, and then it all gets thrown out by a judge, and they almost right, we're going to reinstate contact, and it all like avalanches back. The other way where it's okay, yeah, you've got these sort of days that's in place.
Which is all I've been after. Like I've just been after. I'm like, listen, I just want to see my kids. Like ideally, it'd be cool if I had them like Monday, Tuesday. She had them Wednesday, Thursday. And then I had them like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Right, and then she's got them.
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying, and just split up like that, and that'll be the thing. And on your days, if you've got to go out, to do something, you can call your mom.
Yeah.
You can call your dad or whatever. If they're with me, I'll sort them out with a sitter. That's something else too. So she tried saying that that I was being like controlling, right? But in throughout this whole process, she's actually said that the kids can only be with either her mother, her dad, or me. Can't be with anybody else. I'm like, why? Because because she doesn't feel safe with them being with anybody else, or she doesn't. She doesn't feel like that my judgment is good enough to decide who they can be with. And I'm thinking, okay, but when they're with you, right? Like
she makes that decision.
Yeah, I'm like 3/4 of the people that they can be with are your family, and so when they're with me, I can't leave them with a sitter. I can't do anything like no. I'm like,
No.
you can't do that, But a lot of the things that she was trying to accuse me of were things that she herself was doing, like a lot of controlling behavior, a lot of like messed up things. She would be quick to remind me, who was paying the bills, kind of a thing, and like unplug things on me. I'd be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm working on my computer, and it's like, well, I'm the one paying for the electricity, so therefore, I was like,
just unplug your computer.
Yeah. Just like unplug the computer. I'm like, you can destroy this very pricey computer, and just no level of like reasoning behind it. Just would just do it. And I'm like, and so it's like there were a lot of things that she was accusing me of, whereas I was always very compliant, with everything, like very much like don't bite the hand that feeds kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like moving forward. I just hope that things work out for the kids, because ultimately, like, that's what it's about. She's made it very much about herself up until this point. Whereas I'm just concerned with them. She can do whatever she wants at this point. If she wants to, if she did in fact meet somebody else,
Fair enough.
it's fine. Like, I'm an adult. Like, I'm not fussed about that. What I am fussed about is my kids seeing me and having that relationship with me and being able to call me whenever they want, and not feel like they can't, or like, let me not bother mommy with that. Like, it's like, no, like, you should be able to, bother mom with that.
Seems like you just. I know it's been probably quite a long journey so far.
Yeah, yeah, it's been it's been
It's
it's been crazy. I mean, like, going back to this, like the 6 months that I didn't see them. I mean, being on my own in this big house. Well, it's not big. I mean, it's about the size of your house. It's not like a massive house. It's like a corner house, attached, right? They've got the room upstairs with toys that haven't been opened. Beds that haven't been slept in, except for like that first weekend. But um, and it's tough. Like I've actually had to start closing that door
yeah,
because I used to keep it open. Just to make the house feel bigger, and also, but then after a while, I just started closing the door because it would just hurt. To like see like these bunk beds, and I'm just like I can't. So I just closed the door, and um, it's dark. And I feel like not enough people really think about what the dad's going through in those situations, because there's this whole notion that because we're men, oh, like he's a man, he could take it,
yeah.
like be strong,
It probably doesn't affect him or his.
yeah,
He don't have emotions.
yeah, like he's made out of rubber, like it's fine,
Yeah,
like we can do this to him, but the mom's got a big heart, and she's gonna be crying for her
yeah.
babies and this and that, and it's no,
I'll say one thing. Since going through the whole divorce thing, I used to be able to bat anything off, but going through the divorce, I mean, not so much recently, but I went through a period of randomly just almost start tearing up.
yeah,
Like absolute just random. I'd be sat there, watch something, and I was like, I'm crying.
yeah,
I don't even know why. I'm like, and then you get emotional about the daft. Like, I never used to be emotional, but now I just get randomly emotional.
oh, I can't do Disney, man. Disney messes me up. I was gonna say, have you watched the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Yes.
The bit where what's her name? It's towards the end, and they're all breaking up and everything. They're each going their own way, and Drax is like, like, well, I'm gonna go off too, whatever. And Nebula's like, no, like I need you to stay because I now know like what I need you for. Like you're a father. Like that's why you need to be here because of all the kids that were brought over, and he knew how to talk to them. Like I saw that and I was like, just bawling. I lost it. Um, and I think that a lot of that has to do with when you do become a dad, you realize that that's like who you're always meant to be,
Yeah.
and you're meant to be their dad, and um, it's a very special bond, and when that gets taken away, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But for me, yeah, like I'll watch things like that, and I'm just it's always like, oh, you can't, you know.
I think I had the one video. I must have watched it probably about. It was only a 10-second video, and it was two dogs. It's on TikTok. A black dog come running round. There's a kid, and there's a white dog. The white dog sees the black dog, pushes over the little child
Yeah.
to defend, and then starts attacking the. I was like, I kept watching it. It's like, I can't believe that dog did that. It protected it. I was like, I just kept to like, I feel like I'm stuck in a loop. It was, yeah. You get emotional over two dogs and a kid.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that somebody recently told me that what is it? It's like when you cry, it's basically because you've been so strong for so long
Yeah.
that's just a little crack in the dam. That's what those tears are. It's because you've been strong for so long, trying to stay strong for so long, and then you just have that little crack, that little chink in the dam or whatever it is, and it comes out, and you're like, oh, and you try to patch it back up. But if I'm tearing up, if I'm crying or whatever, it's because I've been really trying to control my emotions just from the moment I wake up until I put my head down, like just trying to stay in a good place, just try, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to try to stay and remain in that headspace, you know, and then eventually, yeah, like your brain just gets tired of trying to keep that, and then just, you know, that's when it'll just hit you, and it'll be, you
Yeah,
know,
just randomly.
a meme or something. Like for me, it's often like music based, but it's like there are also some movies that I just like. Mrs. Doubtfire, I can't watch Mrs. Doubtfire now.
Really?
No, God no. That's on the list of movies I cannot watch right
Which
now.
part? I'm guessing it's where Robin Williams gets to see the little girl, is it? Where later on,
I
or
think
discovers it's a dad or something.
yeah. For me, it's the bit where they go to court and he's been found out. Like they know that he's been Mrs. Doubtfire the entire time, and then like they tell him that he can only see them supervised, and that he's a danger to the kids, you know. But it's like clearly like he was just trying to do everything in his power
Yeah,
and went that far just to see his own kids, you know. Like that's what that movie's all about. It's like how far a dad will go just to see the kids that he loves. And for him, it was, you know, dressing up as an old lady, you know, from England. But
I used to see that as a really happy film. I never actually.
watch
Yeah.
watch it now tonight. Put it on, and then give me a
I
call
did.
later.
I never really considered it, but yeah, he's a guy who's kept away from his kids, and
He's kept away from his kids, you know, by a very, like, I mean, controlling wife, who, like, I mean, in the movie she's,
she comes across at times as a nice person.
yes, you know, like she's not a terrible person. Clearly, you know, like the marriage isn't working out. You know, he's who he is, she's who she is, but it's the way that she goes about it. You know, like she just kind of has him like leave, and that's the other thing too, is that in that situation, in from what I've seen in most situations, it's the woman who decides.
Yeah,
You know, like she's just like, I'm deciding this is over. I'm deciding you have to move out. I'm deciding we're gonna do this. Now I'm gonna decide to do this, and they completely switch it around to something else. It's like, well, I'm constantly having to change, you know, to whatever it is that you're after. But in that movie, you know, she chucks him out, and then, you know, at the end, when he gets that stiff sentence, like I think if I remember correctly, even she's kind of upset by it a little bit. Like she's like, crap, like what did I do? You know, like that's a bit rough. And then when she finally does see him, to let him know that he can see them, you know, on a much more regular basis, you know, he's successful. He's had to focus on work. He's made like the whole Mrs. Doubtfire character like a character like on TV now and
yeah.
all, and but he's still holding that bitterness, you know. And so movies like that, I can't anymore. It's just there's a lot of truth all of a sudden in them.
There is.
You know, it used to be funny, and now it's just, you know.
So pretty much at the end, it's you mentioned earlier on there was a few red flags. Is there any that you've not already mentioned? I think I'm trying to remember some of them now. There was a few of them.
Do you know what? All right, so I think a lot of the red flags were surrounded around a lack of respect.
Yeah, you said about not picking up,
Yeah,
leaving
like
food around, and
leaving food around, things like that. Like manipulating somebody based on, you know, money, you know, because if genders were reversed, yeah, and, you know, say I was the one working, you know, all day and she was at home with the kids, um, and then I start, you know, like telling her, you know, like, hey, well, you know,
yeah,
I'm the one who pays for this, so you gotta shut this off, or I'm the one who does this. It's like, it's very, it's very aggressive and it's very manipulative, because it's just trying to keep somebody else down, like trying to keep them in their place. You know, so if that's going on, you know, like that's a major red flag, because it should never be that. It should never be tit for tat either. That was a big one. I hate the whole tit for tat thing. You know, well, I did it yesterday.
yeah.
Really?
If someone's keeping score,
Yeah, if you were someone who's
I
keeping
washed the
s-
pots twice, and now
Yeah,
it's your turn this
yeah.
week, and it's
like really, like is there some secret tally you got somewhere? You know,
yeah, if
like
you're keeping count,
like a blue thermometer and a red one, and the red one's way higher than the blue.
I've
You
done
know,
it 4
like,
times this week.
it would do my head in, because I was just like, look, you know, if you see that the sink is full, or if you see something needs doing, just do it. It's fine. You know, like I'm not, you know, keeping tally of anything. But what would annoy me was when it was like tit for tat with the kids. Oh well, I did this yesterday with them. Yeah, okay. We're gonna do it again today, and we're gonna do it again tomorrow. We're gonna keep doing it, every day. That's how it works until they know how to do it. So it was like tit for tat, with that. So that's a major red flag. Um, this is gonna sound, it might sound a bit weird or comical, or whatever, but she's got to get along with your family, and she's got to want to know your family.
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's a difference between, somebody who just tolerates your family versus somebody who actually wants to get to know your family and is actually curious and invested. So with us, I used to have long conversations with her mom. Like we would talk for hours sometimes. She would tell me all her, like, her issues and stuff. And she had mates that she would talk to also, but they were like really catty, I guess. And it was really easy to talk to me. And so we would talk about everything. It was
Yes.
great, and I'd open up to her about things. She'd open up to me about things. Even her dad, like he's like a really interesting guy, like does like a lot of really cool things and reads a lot. So, just actually being invested in wanting to get to know these people that are now my family. Um, if I was on the phone with my mom, you know, I'd be like, oh, my mom says hi, and she'd be in the room. Oh yeah, just tell her I said hi. She wouldn't come over and be like, hey, how are you doing? Like actually trying to connect.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big one because if you're married to somebody, like these are people you're going to be seeing for the next, what, 40, 50 years, like, I don't know, like however long your parents are going to be around. And so you should want to get to know them, because they're part of your family now. Like this is
Yeah. Showing an interest.
show an interest, and just if they stop communicating, like any odd changes, but communication is a big one. If they just stop communicating, if they're always sleeping with their back to you,
Yeah.
it's like, do you want to chat? Like, do you want to cuddle? Do you want to watch whatever you're watching together? Like, like, do you want to be a couple?
I mean, yeah, you notice all these things.
Yeah.
Like you know it when it happens.
Yeah.
You just refuse to accept that it's a thing
You refuse to acknowledge it.
because you realize it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
it's gonna,
Yeah.
it's going to cause an issue if you bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's going to be an argument now. She's done that thing again.
But the thing is, I think if you're not afraid of the argument that might happen, that's better than not communicating at all.
Yeah.
You got to communicate. You gotta let it out and talk about stuff. And if something's like, really annoying you or getting, like under your skin, or if you're just anxious about something, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling, like you need an outlet, help, whatever it is, you got to talk to your partner about that kind of stuff and keep them in the loop, because every day that you don't becomes harder and harder to then talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like if eventually, like okay, now 3 months have passed by, the person's been depressed this entire time, they haven't been opening up.
It's not just the problem; it's the problem and everything else.
And now everything else has been like sucked into it, because now the kids are also kind of like, wondering what's going on, and other family members are like, hey, what's going, like, you seem a bit, but it's just because you're not opening up about it and talking about it. You actually have to talk about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So.
The next thing I was going to ask was, have you learned anything? But I guess you mentioning about talking and dealing with the problems as and when they arise, rather than
Communication. Also, not lying. And I'm not saying about, like I'm talking about like little things, like, so for instance, say, you got yelled at by your boss at work,
Mhm.
right? And you had a really crap day at work, and then you
Yeah.
come home and she asks, like, how's your day? Oh, it was fine. And then that's it, like full stop. And then you just kind of carry on, even though you're still steaming or stewing about this thing that happened at work.
yeah,
You just lied to her because you weren't open about the way that you were actually feeling. Because they want to know. They want to know if you're okay. They're not asking if, like, are you okay? Just, off the cuff. It's like oftentimes if I'm asking someone like, hey, are you okay? It's because
Yeah.
I'm actually genuinely concerned. Like, are you okay? Are you all right? And so those little lies, then turn into almost like little weights, that you got to carry around now because you're like, I probably should have said something. I probably should have told her. Why didn't I tell her? What did I gain from not telling her? You know, I didn't gain anything. Now I feel awkward about it. Now, if I tell her, then she's gonna be like, well, why didn't you say this earlier? And now it becomes a thing, you know? And so I learned that, you know, that it's like, listen, if something happens, something's bugging you, just come out with it right away. And if you do get asked, like, you know, hey, is everything all right? And you're not all right, be like, I'm not all right. You know, this and this happened. And then now you're actually communicating, connecting. They're helping you. You guys are trying to solve this together. Now it's like, hey, we're back to being like a little team. You know, we're a couple. Cool. Um, but it's those little tiny, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. No, everything's cool. You know, and then that does add up and it adds up until eventually pandemonium, you know. So
What advice would you either give to a father going through separation, or what advice would you give to yourself if you could go back in time?
vet your partner before you.
If you're talking about just once you figure out you're going through separation, not change the whole relationship, but is there anything you would have done differently from that point forward?
I think, I think just being open with them, talking to them about what's on your mind, but not in an aggressive way. You're not attacking them. You're just genuinely concerned. Like, you know, if you're talking from a place of concern, it's a lot different from a place of anger. You know, I mean, when I suspected that she might be seeing somebody else, I didn't fly off the handle, start yelling or anything like that. I sat down and I was like, listen, I just want to talk about this. I want to know if this is what's actually going on. You know, is there somebody else? You know, would you tell me? Like, you know, like asking the hard questions. You know, and I did that when I started to suspect. You know, um, and I think that asking those hard questions, but in a civil way,
Yeah,
is obviously like the way to go. And like I definitely like learned that. You know, like not that I ever wanted to come at her like, you know, in a shouty kind of a way, but I would just be like, okay, it's gonna be tough, you know, but okay, and then we'd have the conversation. Like I asked her actually one time. I asked her, it's one of the hardest questions I've ever had asked somebody, but I was like, you know, did you do all this because you wanted to keep me as a partner, or because you wanted the kids to have a dad? Because those are two very different things, you know. Like, because if you wanted to keep me as a partner here, because we went through visas and
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
and you know a lot of money was spent on that, right? So I'm like, if you did all that because you wanted to keep me as a partner, then everything else kind of follows after, you know. But if you just did it because you wanted the kids to have a dad, that's very different. And she said, I think it's because I wanted the kids to have a dad. I was like, okay, fair enough, you know. And it was a tough one to have to hear, like a tough answer to have to
Very
get.
honest.
But yeah, I was like, like that level of honesty is needed, you know, because then you know what you have to do. Like you have
Yeah,
a clear picture of what needs to happen next. Um, but if you're not being honest and you're just like, no, everything's fine, everything's okay, everything's no, like let's talk about it, you know. So I would say that be honest, you know, be open, don't be afraid of the hard questions, don't be aggressive about them because nobody likes to be shouted at, you know. Um, and if one person isn't shouting, usually the other person stops shouting at some point
yeah.
because they're like, I'm being really loud. Let me maybe lower my voice. But if you're both shouting, you're just shouting over each other and it gets louder and louder, you know? So it's just kind of taking a step back, assessing the situation, just try and be calm about it and be adult about it.
Yeah.
Just be,
It once I guess you've gone down that route and everything's escalated, it's hard to bring it back.
I'm like super calm. Like whenever people like meet me and talk to me for a bit, they're like, "You're like very chill." I'm like, "Yeah." Like it takes a lot to
Yeah.
get me annoyed or to get me, you know, angry. And even then, I just do a lot of like long breaths. I'm just like, okay, let me let me try to, and then I'll try to, you know, do whatever it is I got to do. But that's the hard bit though, is staying calm, because feelings are hurt, people are upset.
Yeah.
But I mean, throughout this entire process, I've not gone by, my old house and shouted, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, that's not gonna do anything, like I've not done anything that's been aggressive. I've just been like, okay, I'm just going to, hope that the system works this out.
Yeah.
It's taking a lot longer than I ever thought it would, but any kind of aggression is not going to help anything, and so,
No.
just keep it cool. Just keep your head cool. It's temporary. It's not forever. And then eventually things will be back to some form of normal.
Good advice. Does your experience make you hesitant about future relationships? I know you mentioned about you've got somebody on the horizon, but has it made you question whether or not?
Yeah, yeah, 100% of questions. The thing is that so there's like this old like a relationship rule that somebody once told me, where they were like, yeah, if you're gonna start a serious relationship with somebody, it should be at least like, half the time that the last relationship was,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna wait 3.5 years before meeting somebody. I mean, come on, like that sounds crazy, like,
Yeah.
if it happens, it happens, Um, and so for me, I mean, yeah, like I've kind of met somebody, but it's still like in its infancy, and still just trying to figure everything out. And there's a level of fear, because it's kind of like, you know, am I gonna get burned again? Like why am I doing this to myself, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
Do I just want to be single, like just be the single guy forever? Um, you know, do I have enough love in my heart for this person, and, my own kids, and how like all those things start to kind of,
Yeah.
and then I had this moment where I was like, okay, this is my head getting in front of my heart, and if it feels right, if your heart's telling you that it feels right, just follow your heart. If it's making you happy,
Yeah.
let's see how long we can stay happy.
Yeah. And where does that take you?
And exactly, and that's kind of like my new thing. Instead of questioning it, it's like, no, just be in it, and then just, see where it goes. The other thing that I'll say is that this particular person, is like, it's like night and day. Super caring, really sweet, like doting, just like genuinely concerned for my welfare,
Yeah. That's,
and it's like I'm doing my best not to get in the way of that, like, if somebody actually wants to make the time for you, and they want to be there for you, and they want to support you, don't be the person to not allow that to happen.
yeah. I found that I was with my ex for about 11 years, but it's almost like you forget that people are different.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like you think, well, if they do that, then they'll probably do that,
Yeah.
and they'll probably do that. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, like everyone. But yeah, you forget that.
It's nuts. I when I first met this person, like, she, like instantly, I felt like this warmth coming off of her, like big hearted,
Yeah.
and it's been great. I mean, we've been hanging out a bunch, and like, she makes me happy, and I forgot what happy feels like. And then, but then, here's the other thing too, is that being sad for as long as I've been, right? I have this conflict within me now, because it's like the thing that I'm being sad about is a legit reason to be sad, and sometimes I find it hard to be happy
Yeah.
when I still got this like sad cloud that's kind of still floating above me. I still don't have my kids. I still can't, see them on a regular basis. I still got to deal with all those things, and so sometimes it's tough to allow that happiness to kind of take over. But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at just being like, no, like life has to go on.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be by myself forever. Like that's just crazy.
I know it's hard sometimes to be able to see a way out.
Yeah.
You get to a point, and I did it as well, where you're at an impasse amidst the divorce, and you're not settling on anything, and nothing's
Yeah.
getting agreed, and there was no agreement to this house and the rest of it, and you're like, is there a way out of it? And then you just don't see it.
Yeah.
And then a glimpse every so often, you'll think, oh, you know what, 3-6 months, I can actually see where something's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Something goes wrong. No, it's closed up. But it's really difficult to see on the other side.
It's difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Where there's a day where I can remember at the start, for probably the first 3-4 months, it consumed me.
Oh, same. I was, you know what? Like I had friends that were like, oh, like the best way of getting over somebody is to get under someone else, right? And I was like, no, that's not for me. Like I that's not at all what I need. It's not what I want. I didn't see anybody. I wasn't going out, to meet anybody. I didn't want to meet anybody, and it wasn't because I wanted to get back with her. I was like, no, that's done, because I felt like the level of betrayal that I received was, it wasn't just, from my partner. It's like we were family, like you betrayed not just me, but like my mom and my sisters and the kids' cousins, like all of them are also not able to speak to speak to the kids. Like they haven't spoken to them in forever. Like all that has been done away because she's like trying to like erase all of us. So she's out. She's done. There's no, and like my mom's been like, "Are you sure though? There's not a small chance that maybe at some point I was like, no, that's done." But I also wasn't looking into getting with somebody else. I wasn't looking into meeting anybody. None of that happened until very recently. So for for a good year, I was just on my own, like just on my own, just home alone, not going out, not
Yeah.
partying, not getting on the Bumbles and the Tinders and all that stuff. I was just like, no, I'm just no. I can't even bother. But I did have mates that were like, at some point it's gonna happen. I was like, I don't know. I don't
It'll
think.
happen when, like, you're ready for it to happen, sort of thing. Which is now it's
Yeah.
coming about.
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing, like I was thinking about it too. I was like, well, I mean, the last time that I was intimate with somebody was obviously, I mean, with her was, like mid 2022. So from that point, until very recently, I wasn't with anyone. I just was not, and so and then even before that, things were already kind of like degrading. So the way I feel about it now, it's like we kind of ended a long time ago. It's just that nobody maybe wanted to say it yet, or nobody wanted to acknowledge it. Um, and I think that that's probably the way it goes. People, like, marriages don't end on the day that someone says I want a divorce. The marriage ended like a year ago.
Yeah.
It ended 2 years ago. I don't know. It depends. Like, but it ended a while before. It's just who's got the courage to say it first.
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
Like, and but yeah, I mean, now I'm at that point where it's like I feel happiness again. I definitely feel happiness again, but there's a bit of a conflict because I still don't have my kids. Like that's when I'll be at my happiest. I'll be
It will come.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, like I am complete. You know, like I'm just that's like that's kind of like what I'm waiting for is for that to happen, and then once that's a thing, then I can start to like really look
It
forward.
feels like you can start then. You
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Right now, I'm still kind of on the sidelines, just kind of waiting to see.
It's like you're in between phases or
Yeah,
lives.
yeah. But you know, the person I'm seeing, she's awesome. She's just like a really really good person. Like inside and out. Just like I was actually telling my mom about it, and my mom she's like, she sounds Latina because like my family they're from South America, and the women in South America tend to be very like doting, very
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And she's like, yeah, it sounds like you found like a Latina girl, but like in in Europe. I'm like, yeah, pretty much, you know, yeah, found her in the UK. But yeah, it's a massive change, and sometimes I'm just like, this is too good to be
I
true.
gotta say, aren't they meant to be quite fiery?
No, she's
Is it not?
no, oh my god, like it's just no, it's just been really really nice,
Okay.
like really nice, and just and I can't remember the last time that anyone treated me like that, you know, maybe maybe if ever, or maybe like when I was like a kid, like a teenager, and
That's good.
yeah, you know, like that kind of innocent love. It's good.
Someone
It's
giving you what you need.
yeah, yeah. So it's been good. Like I'm happy about that. It's just at this point it's just bringing everything home and making everything kind of
Okay.
finally be cool with everyone and having the kids.
Well, I think we're pretty much there. The last thing which I mentioned to you, did you have 2 words to summarize, say, this podcast? What 2 words would you pick?
Wait, to summarize.
Yeah, this. And that can be the name of the episode.
Oh wow. 2 words to summarize.
I know it's not probably easy to put on the spot, but
Stay classy.
stay classy. Nice.